I think it worked. Guys, welcome. I am live via a new software that is going to just completely up-level the production level of these videos. So I quite frankly don't even know if I'm live because this is a new software, but I think I am. So we're just going as if we are. Welcome to 2025. Happy New Year. This video is specific to Brighton, Colorado. However, some of the tips I'm going to give you as a buyer or seller in today's market is going to go for anyone buying really in Colorado in general. Even out of state, this might apply. But for the most part, this video is going to be specific to Brighton. How we're going to do this, I'm going to dive right into some of the tips for buyers and sellers on how to beat the market this year. And then we'll get into the data. I'll share my screen, show you some stats, and show you around what the market is actually doing in Brighton, Colorado. Let's dive in. Buyers, sellers, welcome to 2025. We're going to start with buyers. If you're looking to purchase a home, really anywhere in Colorado, but I'm talking about Brighton, there's a couple things that I want to encourage of you in order to beat the market. In order to set yourself up for success, you're getting really high level insights and tips from a high professional realtor. I've been doing this for 10 years. And you don't have to schedule a time to sit across the table for me. If you would like that, I'd be happy to join. But in terms of beating the market in 2025, the first tip is going to be look at new builds. I don't know about you, but I've been looking around and have noticed high rates for quite some time now. And you're likely seeing the same thing. Well, in order to beat the market rates, go find a new build. Because generally speaking, bigger corporations like a new build community have a pool of money that they're able to use to purchase money at a significantly decreased rate, and then therefore offer that as an incentive for you to purchase their home. So a lot of new builds out there right now are offering incredible incentives. And I'm seeing rates as low as 4.99, 4.75. And so they are out there. And guys, let me paint this picture for you. For every 1% decrease in an interest rate, now this is a little bit more nuanced, but in general, rough ballpark is generally going to save you anywhere from, there goes my video, is generally going to save you anywhere from $300 to $400. So really incredible savings for those of you buying a home in 2025. Now, new builds might not cut it. The con of new builds is there's only so many of them. And generally speaking, you'll find floor plans are fairly similar from builder to builder. And so if you're wanting something different, you're wanting a little bit of variety in terms of floor plan and finishes, etc., and you want to go the existing routes, by all means, go make it happen. Here's how you beat the market in the existing world of homes. What you want to look for specifically are homes that have been on the market for 60 plus days. If the home's been on the market for 60 plus days, this isn't like a rule of law. This is not a black and white. There's nuance to this. You might find a seller not willing to negotiate, but for the most part, homes that have been on the market for 60 plus days, there's something going on there. They might not be priced correctly relative to the condition of their home. They might have just missed the mark when it comes to data entry into the MLS. For whatever reason, they're sitting on the market, and there's a reason for that. And more times than not, these sellers are going to be a little bit flustered, maybe frustrated, maybe wondering why their house is sitting. And for some of them, they're really going to be motivated to find a buyer because they've had to go through 60 days without an offer. And so for the most part, your ability to negotiate is going to be much greater. Again, my camera stopped working. Bear with me. And guys, please, thank you for your patience with this new software. We're trying to figure this out to get you guys better overall production and quality. This is my webcam. It's decent, but nothing compared to this. I feel like this is a much better camera. We'll figure it out. But for those of you looking to buy a home under 60 days, a great idea in order for you to maximize negotiations. And then in Brighton in specific, The bulk of our inventory, which I'll show you here shortly, is going to be between $500,000 to $600,000. And so if you're in that price point, specifically in Brighton, Colorado, it's likely your ability to negotiate is going to be much greater. The reason being is we have more homes than we do buyers in this specific price point. And because of that, there's less competition for you as a buyer. And therefore, not all the time, but maybe more frequently than other price points, you might be able to negotiate and get a deal. Those are some insights and tips for you buyers. If you're joining, first up, thank you. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Again, we're working on figuring out this. We're working on figuring out my software. So let me see if I can access comments, but I'm almost certain I can. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know if you have questions. Sellers, you are up next. Get ready. I want to go through some tips for you as well. And it does look like we are live. Awesome. So let's do this. I'm going to pull up my live here. That way I can have access. So I'm going to join the conversation and interact. Let's see here. See if I can find chat. And then sellers, we're going to get into something for you here in just a second. Join the conversation to interact with creators and other people watching. I can't do it because I think I'm the one actually creating. But if there's live comments, there we go. I see it. Okay, cool. There we go. I can access your live comments. Drop a comment in here and let me know where you are joining from. Awesome. There it is. So if you guys have anything you want to chat, throw it in the chat and I will get back to you. Sellers. If you're looking to sell in 2025, specifically in Brighton, Colorado, we're going to get into some stats, data, and most importantly, we're going to get into a little bit of my process and how I set my sellers up for success in selling for the most amount of money possible in a relatively short period of time. Look, most of you sellers don't want to be on the market for an exuberant amount of days. Generally speaking, if you're looking to sell your home, most of you would probably prefer to sell your house for the most amount of money within the least amount of time. And in some cases, have some flexibility after you sell to be able to move out and get to where you're going. Well, I'm going to show you my process and how I enable my sellers to achieve just that. But before I do, general recommendations for sellers going into 2025 and how to beat the market. Well, first off, kudos to you for not listing in December, November, October. If you did list then, I'm sorry. It was a terrible market for sellers. I mean, it was really, really agonizingly slow. If the light was at the end of the tunnel, January was that light. February is even brighter. March is even brighter. I'm going to show you all this here in a second. But that's my first comment, is that good on you for waiting until January. If you're listing anywhere between now and let's call it June, you're going to be in pretty good shape overall. Again, I'll show you how the data is actually the one telling me all of this, not me making it up by myself. But really, from January up until, I want to say it's the last week of about April, is kind of the new seasonal trend that we're seeing, the most appreciation occur throughout the year, the most buyer activity throughout the year. And then once you kind of get to May or June, it kind of tapers off, and then July, it really slows down. So if you are listing anytime between now and about April, gosh, even May, you're in pretty good shape. I would likely edge on the encouragement, if I were in your shoes, of listing like end of January as kind of my starting line. And then really up until March, April. Here's one fear I have, and this could be a really, really, really good insight to help you beat the market, is my fear is that we're going to have an excessive amount of inventory. And if we do, that's going to slow the market. It's going to create a scenario where we're not going to see an incredible amount of appreciation. Not that we were in line to see that anyway, but my point here is that if we're going to see an excessive amount of inventory, it's going to make your listing less competitive. And so I'm kind of speculating here, but I think there's going to be a sweet spot into the market where you can enter your listing before everyone else enters their listing and decreases the overall competition for a seller. And I think that sweet spot is like end of January to like end of February. Like, it's not a big window, but my guess is we're going to see the bulk of listings come like March, April, May, June. And so if you can fit and kind of squeeze in between that to where you're still getting the upside of more buyer activity, but you're also getting the upside of not having an excessive amount of listings that you're competing with, I think that's the sweet spot. Look, I don't know. I would highly encourage you to subscribe to this channel if you're even roughly considering listing, because I'm going to update you every single week about these trends, and we're going to see how that plays out and whether or not I'm right in speculating that that's going to be the sweet spot. And I'm going to give you encouragement in certain things that I'm seeing in the market that will help you make smart real estate decisions. And if you'd rather just skip the line, and what I mean by skip the line is not have to sit through these videos and instead just meet with me and we could do market updates on your property in specific, connect with me down below. I have all my social media channels. You can schedule a call directly on my YouTube channel, but don't forget to subscribe and put the notification bell. That way, if you're not ready today, maybe you're ready in a month and you won't forget about me, because YouTube will make sure that I am in your world. But that is, so those are the two pieces of insight for sellers. Number one, good on you for not listing in Q4 of 2024. You're going to be in good shape listing anywhere between January to like April to June. And the sweet spot, I'm guessing, is going to be late January to late February, where you're going to be able to beat the market. And the last and most important piece of insight for sellers, I'm going to get to when we look at data, and I'm going to explain just a little bit. I'm going to give you the process of which, just a tad bit of the process of which I take in order to position my sellers the best way possible, so that you're not getting hit too hard in buyer negotiations and falling in price more than you should be. And guys, I'm telling you, this happens all of the time. Maybe we do a video where I show you example after example after example of these homes that get this strategy wrong. And because of that, they end up making price drop after price drop after price drop after price drop. And from my perspective, I don't think there's any way of telling, but what I see from their listing history is, had they just priced right to begin with, they likely would have made more money. So let's make sure you don't do that, so that way you can beat the market in 2025. All right, let's get into stats. Guys, thanks for joining me so far. If you're here with me, feel free to use this chat on the right side of the video. And I'd love to hear first where you're joining from. And please, I love answering questions. Drop your questions below. Let's get into, so again, I have this new software that I'm using, and I'm going to work on maybe sharing my screen here so that hopefully what we can achieve is sharing data with you that you can actually see. See, what was happening is, so let's go studio mode. Let's go screen share. Oh my gosh, okay, it's working. What's happening was, when I was using YouTube's interface, it was making the data that I'm going to share with you super, super choppy. And we don't want that. We want you guys to be able to see the trend lines in the stuff that I'm looking at. So let's do this. I'm going to pull up my data. Give me 1 second. I got to find it. All right, guys, this is the nerdy stuff. This is the stuff that I love most. I hope you do too. I mean, I'm guessing that if you're here, it's probably because there's a part of you that actually likes data and wants to read through it with me. Yes. Okay. This is looking to be so much better in regard to production level quality. You guys can see this much better, I think. So we're going to run through data. If you can see right here, I've got 80601. Now Brighton consists of like 80603 and 80602. You know what? Let's do this. Let's go to city. We'll uncheck all of them and let's just put Brighton because that will encompass some zip codes that aren't in 80601. And then we can get the most accurate data. Cool. Yep, we're already seeing a jump in average price. That's good. The 80603, 80602 are Brighton zip codes, but they're also Thornton zip codes, Hudson zip code, Lock Bowie zip code. There might be one 80603 Hudson. Nonetheless, it's generally the outskirts of Brighton, and so you're going to get more acreage property in those zones, and with that, an increase in price. So that's what I'm guessing why when I type in 80601, the average price here drops as opposed to when I put Brighton and encompass all of those zip codes, it increases a little bit. One of my favorite parts about Brighton is as crazy as these home prices have gotten, you can still get a fairly attainable price, relatively speaking, when compared to really anything south of I-70, anything east of I-25. And they're really nice homes, and you can get them at a price that is just not found in some other areas in the greater Denver metro. All right, guys, let's dive in, and I'm going to just show you some data here. It's a little too early to really start getting a sense of any trend lines. That's okay. I'm going to give you just a little bit of a breakdown of what we're going to be looking at. And then I'm going to end with, you sellers out there, my strategy that I think you ought to consider when pricing your house. So first things first, guys, in Brighton in specific, really love to see this dot here, this orange one. We're right in the ballpark of 2024 pricing, actually a little above in terms of the average price per week for this first week of January, where we were a year ago. I love to see that. That means the pricing in Brighton is showing, at least on this data point, that it's up. Now, there's so much data that, this is so minimal that it doesn't really mean a whole lot. What's going to mean a whole lot is when we're in week 50 and we can look at this orange trend line. But for now, I'd like to see that at least out the gate, we're a little above 2024 in terms of pricing, in terms of average pricing. Let's look at median pricing. In terms of median pricing, we do have a significant increase in price. Great stuff, guys. Great stuff. To be quite frank, I think for everyone, buyers, obviously you'd like to get a lower price for the house, but for the most part, you also want a healthy market. You want a market where once you buy your house, it's going to appreciate. This is all good signs. New listings comparison. Guys, what we're going to want to see, especially for you sellers, is a decrease in new listings when compared to 23 and 24, and we got it. Now, there's not a whole lot of significance here. It's not a significant drop to where it's very meaningful, but again, right out of the gate, I like what I'm seeing. We don't want more listings than we've got in 2023 and 2024. And the reason for that is we're already up overall in the general amount of inventory. City, let's go to Brighton. Brighton. If you guys are joining from out of state, what you'll find is us Coloradans don't say our T's. So Brighton. Nonetheless, look at inventory. So you see this big yellow line here. You see this gap in between the red and orange. So what that gap is showing is that in 23 and 22, you could see inventory was fairly similar. And then 2024, we got a huge increase in inventory. Well, 25, unfortunately, is even greater than that right at the starting gates. And so because inventory is so high, I don't want to see a high level of new listings coming to market because we already have high inventory. The higher the inventory goes, we need more buyers in the market. And with rates staying a little bit high, there is some promising data, but overall, we want that ratio to stay in a healthy balance. The ratio between how many buyers are in the market and how many listings are in the market. And if we get too much excess inventory here without a significant increase in buyer activity, that's going to lead to a very slow market, maybe even a depreciating market. I don't know that I see that for 24 or anytime soon, but we could, we very well could. And if we were to see it, that's exactly what would need to happen. So great data point right here in new listings. Number of under contracts, we're just below 2024, but not by a significant amount. Way higher than 2023. I like where we're at. It shows that the market's a bit stable in terms of number of sold homes per week. Right out of the gate, we're much higher than 23. 24 had none in week one. So love to see this. This means we've got buyers in the market buying, and that's great to offset inventory. And then if we look here, list to contract per week, this was actually showing a little bit of improvement year over year from 2024. And that's just showing that when you put a sign in the yard to when you go under contract, it's taking about 71 days. Look, no one loves 71 days. I don't think that's necessarily something that, we get excited about, especially for buyers all day long, all year long. The reason for that is because if it's taking a seller 80 days, do you remember the second insight I gave you at the start of this video? How to beat the market as a buyer is like find those listings that have been on the market for 60 plus days. Like guys, if the market is showing that it takes on average 70 days to go under contract, most agents aren't advising their clients that it's normal for it to take that long, and they're not having proper communication, which leads to a little bit of scarcity and frustration, and seller maybe feeling flustered, and that's where you are able to negotiate. Well, the reality is it's just average. Like it's just that's just the way it is. It takes 70 days to get a contract. Now again, this isn't hard and fast, and some houses sell within a week, some take 6 months. But for the most part, buyers, you want to see this all day long. Sellers, you don't. You want to see that downtrend, and that's very, very likely to happen. Hence why I say it's a really good time to sell anywhere between now and about May. And what you're looking at here with these graphs is you kind of see this swing trend, right? So it goes here, and then it goes down, and then back up. Let me get in the camera. And then it goes back up. I'll share my screen so you can see what I'm looking at. Right here. So it kind of starts high and says, hey, in January, it's going to take longer to sell your house. But as the months go on, it's going to take less and less and less and less and less time. And then about mid-year mark, like I said, it's going to start going up and up and up until it kind of reaches a high again in December. Just the way the market works, guys. So look, I mean, relatively speaking, I don't love to see inventory here, but what I do love to see that kind of balances and offsets that inventory is that we have really good showing data. And by showing data, where'd it go? Weekly showings by year. You know what? Brighton's too small of them. No, where did my showing data go? Right here. Guys, I just looked at this earlier today. This is why. Brighton's too small of a data set to really show showing numbers. But what we like to see is if we're looking at 2025, gosh darn it, where did it go? I can't find it. It was here earlier today. But essentially the stat was we had 17,000 showings total in the first week of January as opposed to 10,000 a week before. So that 7,000 number of increased showings over the week is really, really good signs. And that is showing us that we have strong buyer activity that should be able to balance out the ratio of supply and demand, which is great, which is absolutely great. That's what we want to see. Guys, if you're joining me, feel free to leave a comment. I would love to engage with you, interact, and actually answer your questions. What do you guys want to know? For the time being, unless we get some comments, I'm going to go through one last thing. Sellers, I promised you this. I will deliver. Let's get into it. How do you set yourself up for success in selling your home for the most amount of money and it not taking forever for you to go under contract? Here's what you guys want to do, okay? This is one of many things I do for the sellers. So guys, this isn't for you to learn this one thing and then all of a sudden you're an expert ninja and you should sell your house by yourself. By all means, feel free to try it. But this is just one of the, let's call it this is 30 minutes of the 2 hours that I actually spend researching the value of your house and coming up with a pricing strategy. But it is, from my perspective, one of the most important things that you could do for yourself as a seller. So what you're going to do, let's say you have a house, because the bulk of inventory is 500 to 600,000. Let's say you have a house that we think is worth 525 to 575. We're going to look at 500 to 600, and we're going to see, okay, what is your competition like? And based on your competition, where do we fall within that relative to your square feet, to your beds and bath, etc. And so, for instance, just right off the bat, I'll show you guys a couple glaring things that will make this make sense for you. So let's do this. Screen share. Okay, so what you're looking at is in Brighton, all the homes from $500,000 to $600,000. Very quickly, the way you can look at this is you can look at square footage and price. This is above grade square footage, total, and basement, okay? So what we're going to look for just right off the bat is we're going to just see, okay, 575 to 550, let's call it. What square footage do we have? And we could see 1600, 22, 17, 26. So right off the bat, this one at 26, relative to these 4 listings, it's only 5K more. This is a better deal than all of these. Again, relatively speaking, there's more nuance to this. But this is a very easy way to just see if I'm listing your home and we're going to be competing against these other listings, how are we going to match up in order to put you in the best position possible? This is what we're doing. We're looking at competitive listings. Even here, 1800, 17, 18, 17, 18, 19. This one's 2,600 square feet. So this one, just right off the bat, comparing these ones, the 5 homes below us, the 5 homes above us, like we're the best deal right here. Now, then you get to this one with 2,900 square feet. It's obviously got a basement because it's 1,600 here, 2,900 square feet total. This one's good too. Like you're getting much more square feet than all of these. Even this one at 2,600. My guess is this is a ranch style. Just generally how the square feet works. Let's see if I'm right. Could be wrong. Maybe I shouldn't. Yep, look. See, ranch style home. It's just the way the square footage works. And so, relatively speaking, like just based off of this square footage, they're fairly well priced. And then you start getting into like 28, 26, 22, 23,000, 1,700. So right off the bat, guys, this is overpriced. Now, again, there's more to it than just the numbers on paper. But like relatively speaking, we look at this and say, okay, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 homes are priced below you and have more square foot. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, everything above you is more square foot. So like you're the least competitive property from 565 to 575. Like maybe we consider a listing where we're a little more competitive, right? And then what happens is a lot of times, I'll show you an example. I guarantee I'll find you something here shortly. Give me a second. New builds are not as good in finding these examples, but here's an example. This one started at 598. Look at their square footage. They're at 2,000. Guys, just in the couple of minutes you just spent with me, you already know from what we looked at, this square footage you can find at lower prices. In fact, there was one at 2,600 square foot for 554, and these guys tried to list at 598. So now they're in a tailspin where, it's 200 days in the MLS. They started high. Now they're dropping. Guys, there's so much more to this story. Like this could be a new build and it's just their placeholder listing for all of their home floor plans like this. So don't take that specific listing with a grain of salt, but this is the research that we do for your listing. Now, here's an existing home. They started at 599. They're down to 579. Guys, look at the square feet, right? Like, again, just from you sitting here with me for 3 minutes, based on that square footage in Brighton, we can find that less than 579, right? Now, there's other attributes. This one has a really nice garage, actually really, really nice inside. This specific owner, I've seen this house, etc. I've seen the fix and flips that this company does. They actually do a really, really good job. These are high level updates. So I'm not surprised that they priced a little high. Again, more to meet the eye here, but generally speaking, that's what you're going to want to do when pricing your home if you want to beat the market in 2025. Guys, I'm telling you, it's more important than ever before to price your home properly relative to its condition and relative to market trends. And the reason for that is because it's so easy in a market where you have high inventory to get lost in all the other listings, and the competitiveness of your listing is not that great, and therefore you drop in price and drop in price and drop in price, and you finally get a contract, and then you sell, and you're kind of frustrated, but like, it is what it is. Like, no. Let's just do it right from the beginning, as right as we possibly can. Ultimately, a lot of this is professionally educated guesswork. You never know what your house is worth until you go on the market. But for the most part, like, we can dial it in fairly close to where you were the most competitive house on the market for your price, for what you offer, so that way you set yourself up for success. And when I say set yourself up for success, I mean give yourself the highest probability that you're going to sell for more money than that you're going to sell for the most money in the shortest amount of time. Guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining. I'm stoked about what we have going for 2025. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you get notified first when these updates come live. Believe it or not, as big as the real estate market is, it changes daily, it changes weekly, monthly. And so if you're not up to speed on my latest video, you're going to be behind. We're going to track market trends on this channel every week, not just for Brighton, but for the whole Denver metro. We're also going to do neighborhood specific, zip code specific, etc., so that you are set up for success. Thank you guys. We'll talk to you soon.